Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Now, if you've watched this channel for a while, you know that I'm a supporter of the LGBTQ community, and I'm definitely a supporter and advocate for the trans youth of this nation. I've always been a supporter of the LGBTQ community and always been a supporter of trans rights, but even more so in the last few years, since I came across a little child named Kai, who was born a boy, but never believed they were a boy, never felt like they were a boy, and never acted really like they were much of a boy. And a mother who tried to keep the child from living that life, tried to keep her child from being trans, because that's just not how it works. That's just not how it was in the religious circles that she was in. That wasn't until she found Kai at like 4 years old praying to Jesus to take her home, to take her away, because her mommy and family would never understand. They would never understand that she was not a boy, that she was the girl that she felt she was. And thanks to the changes that one thing led to, her mother Kimberly is a advocate for trans youth, not just in Texas, but across the country. Not only does she advocate for her child, but for trans youth across the country. She realized that her child being alive and happy was more important than religious dogma. And to this day, she maintains her Christian faith. And I have to commend her for that change, because a lot of people won't make that change. That's where Candace Owen and Mario Lopez come in on this PragerU interview. Candace Owen says it's a weird trend in Hollywood for people like Charlize Theron to come out and say that their child is trans, because the child told Theron when the child was 3 years old that they were not a boy, that they were a girl. And unfortunately, her views are shared by many, many conservatives. She goes on to say that in her experience as a nanny, that children don't always mean what they say, and that now in Hollywood the mentality is that children have the mental authority. Now, Mario Lopez chimes in, going on to say, I'm trying to understand it myself. And please don't let me in with that whole group. I'm assuming with liberal Hollywood. It's what I'm assuming he's talking about. He says he's kind of blown away. He says he doesn't want to tell people how to parent their kids. Then he goes on to say, but my God, you're 3 years old and you're saying you feel a certain way, or you think you're a boy or a girl, whatever the case may be. I think it's dangerous as a parent to make that determination. And then he goes on to say, it's sort of alarming, and my gosh, think about the repercussions later on. You want to talk about repercussions? Repercussions for trans youth, Mr. Lopez? Huh, Mario? You want to talk about that? Then let's have that conversation, shall we? Higher rates of self-harm. Higher rates of drug use in many cases. And higher rates of suicide than even that of other people in the LGBTQ community. At a higher rate than the average teenager and younger. Kids that just don't want to live. Those are the repercussions. So when you say inane things like this, attacking parents as weird for supporting their children, you are saying that it is weird to support your child living. No matter what you think, children are important. and they need to be able to live and be free. And you know what? A happy child that is alive is far better than a sad child or a dead child. So if a kid happens to be born a boy and they identify as a female and you let them wear a dress, by George, let them. If that makes them comfortable, makes them happy, by George, let them. But he goes on to say, Mario goes on to say something that makes it clear that he and Candace Owens, neither one, understands how any of this works. Like, they seem to believe that these kids have these thoughts, these feelings, and boom, it just happens. Sex change happens automatically. But that's not how any of it works. He goes on to say, when you're a kid, you don't know anything about sexuality yet. You're just a kid. Well, here's the thing. Gender and sexuality are not the same thing. Gender and sex are not the same thing. Your sex is the physical outward appearance of your body. Sexuality is basically what you're attracted to. Are you attracted to men or women or both? Your gender, as much as it is a social construct, is also a construct of your mind. In your mind is wired a certain way in many cases. And they are not wired the same. Their mind does not fit the body. Has nothing to do with sexualizing a child. It has nothing to do with sexuality, period. It has to do with gender. You can be a 3-year-old boy and know very well that you're a boy. When you see a 3-year-old boy that was born a boy, or born male, and who identifies their gender as male, you hear about those kids say, a kid like that age saying, "I'm a boy and I'm proud about it," blah blah blah. I remember, I heard it. I'm sure I said it at some point. But that, you don't hear anybody say anything bad about that. They think it's cute when a boy acts like a boy and says they're a boy at a young age. But Lord help them if they happen to say that they're the gender that they weren't born as. But it goes to show you the ignorance of people on the right when it comes to this topic. That they refuse to even take a minute to research the situation. The only articles they'll read on it are things that confirm their bias. And that's it. I read actual research, actual studies. Studies that when I started to read them did not say whether or not they thought gender dysphoria was real, that the research led you to where they got to their opinion. The research got them to their conclusion. But I don't understand. Candace Owens goes on to say that parents who support their transgender children are narcissists just trying to show off their tolerance. And Lopez, let's finish it with this. Lopez responded to that comment from her about the parents being narcissists, saying, "I think parents need to allow their kids to be kids, but at the same time, you've got to be the adult in the situation." Pause with that. And I think the formative years are when you should start having those discussions and really start making those decisions. Here's the thing. Many of the people that commit suicide as trans when they're older, from what I have read, and happened to a person who is known to a lot of people on the internet, is that if they get to a point Say they haven't been able to get on puberty blockers, and they are born a male. Without going on those blockers, they will have male puberty. After having male puberty, it's going to be very difficult for them to get to looking like a female. Because once testosterone takes over, your face takes a certain shape, your body shape looks a certain way, and you'll never look, a lot of times you'll never look the way, at least you think you'll never look the way you want to look. Because you won't look female, you won't look feminine. That happened to one person who killed themselves because their parents would not support them. So on puberty blockers, they're allowed to go through life, do what they're doing, and then go from there. It's not like they start hormone treatment right away. They don't have a sex change right away. But it disgusts me at how these people act as if parents supporting their trans child are weird. Anyhow, this has been The Big Ranch Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck. I'll see you down the road.